Hey guys, welcome back if you stuck with me from that first video into this second one here. Again, I have to apologize ahead of time. This portion of the Easter egg takes me 20 minutes, and that's only because I learned that you can rotate the statues just by hitting them with your melee weapon. It does take 16 hits per statue. That's why this first chunk is so lengthy. It's just 20 minutes of me running around this room. I probably run 20 miles altogether, just running laps around this room, rotating statues. But I feel this is a great opportunity for me to tell you how to solve each wall of this puzzle. I do have a video out there that is just the Barbarossa puzzle, but rather than me telling you how to solve each wall, I kind of just leave it in your hands and give you the rundown and everything else. So this one is just to tell you how to solve each wall. If you're interested, stick around. If you just want to skip ahead, go ahead and catch me back at 12 minutes 38 seconds. That's when I have all the Raven statues and I plug them into the Barbarossa statue. So let's get into this. Now, best way to work the room is to start on the wall with the stairs. It'll have 3 statues and then you work counterclockwise. The trick to this wall is you need 2 of the statues that are adjacent to each other facing the same direction. So if they're not, then you need to work on one of the outer statues to make it so that the middle statue rotates and faces the same direction as the statue that you're not rotating. Once those 2 are facing the same direction, so the other outside statue and the middle statue, then you start working on the other outside statue so that it's rotating that and the middle one until all 3 of them are facing the same direction, and then you rotate the middle statue for the remainder, because that will rotate all 3 statues. And once you have them all facing towards you, or facing front, I'll call it, you will get the first golden raven. Now the second wall, as you're going counterclockwise, it will be, and all the statues on that first wall just rotate once each time. That's why you have to make sure they're all facing the same direction before you try and solve it. So for the second wall, the first statue, the second statue are both going to rotate once. The third statue is going to rotate 2 times, so it'll only ever face front or back, and then that last statue will face or rotate once each time as well. So the trick to this one is to make sure that the third statue and the fourth statue end up facing front together. So if the fourth statue is facing to the left and the third statue is facing front, you need to rotate the third statue by using the second statue so that it's facing backwards. And the trick to solving the second wall is to make it so that each set of statues will what am I trying to say? That they'll complement the statue sitting next to them. So you have the 2 outside statues and then the 2 inside statues. Once you have it so that the 2 will rotate simultaneously and end up facing front at the same time, then you start working on the outside statues, so you only rotate the 2 that you want. But if you need to make corrections so that the inside statues are going to be facing a direction that'll allow them with their partner statue to be facing front at the same time, you use the inside statues to make that correction, because you'll still keep it on track with its outside statue that's, you know, correctly in the position that it needs to be, but you'll also be making that correction for the inside statue on the other pair of statues. I know that's I'm throwing a lot at you, but once you actually go through this, you'll understand a little bit more of what I'm saying. So, needless to say, there's a right set of statues and a left set of statues, and you're always going to rotate the statue that you're working on and any neighboring ones. So if it only has one neighboring one, it's only going to rotate that in itself. Okay. The second wall is probably, the third wall is probably the second easiest wall to complete, and that is because the two outside statues both rotate twice, and the two inside ones both rotate once. So needless to say, you just get the two pairs lined up so that the outside statues will be facing front when their counterpart inside statues will be facing front. So if it's, let's say if the left inside one is facing left and the left outside one is facing front, then that's not going to work. So you'll need to rotate the left inside statue once using the right inside statue, and so on and so forth. If you need to correct the right inside statue, you'll use the left inside statue to do that. If you don't, you're obviously not going to be able to correct one of the inside statues by using its counterpart outside statue, because they're just going to both keep rotating and never be on the same wavelength to be facing front at the same time. So I know it sounds complicating because I don't have the right terminology. I haven't actually prepped for this portion of it. I'm just kind of using it as filler as we go along. But once you start to figure out the rhythm to the statues and all that, it becomes pretty easy. So yeah, the trick to solving each wall is to make sure that all four statues are facing front at the same time. And there's 4 walls total, and the last wall is the most difficult. Again, I'm referencing starting at the wall with 3 statues and working counterclockwise, so the 4th wall is the one on the side with the stairs coming down, and it's the only wall with the statue that has wings. Now you'll hear other guides and posted tutorials and all that stuff that will go into a little more detail, saying, because some of the statues are holding books, some of them are holding wands, one has wings, so on and so forth. But I just never went by that, because then it's becoming more of a identifying the statue rather than just working with a position of a statue. So that's why I went that route. But yeah, if you ever hear that reference, it's because all the statues holding wands will always rotate the same no matter which wall they're on, and all the statues holding books, so on and so forth. That's, to each their own sort of thing. So once I get this 3rd wall completed, I know it's moving a little fast, but I definitely didn't want this to take up the whole 20 minutes. And again, if you want to skip ahead, go ahead and jump to 12 minutes 38 seconds, and you will pick up as I finish off the last wall. So the trick to sort of getting the positions in your head and solving a wall easily is that you come up to a new wall, you'll walk down the line, still in the counterclockwise direction, and you'll make a mental note to yourself stating which direction each statue is facing before you even start to work on the wall. So, for instance, it would be like, you would say to yourself, like, left, back, right, front, something like that. And so that just lets you know that if you rotate a statue and you know how many times each statue rotates, depending on, if it's a neighboring statue that's going to rotate when you activate the statue in the middle or the statue on the end, then you can say, okay, so left will move once, so then it'll be facing back, and then you memorize the new combination, saying like back, right, front, left, that sort of thing. And again, the most time-consuming portion of this is running the laps around here. And if you're using the Wonder Bus, it's recharging the Wonder Bus to rotate the statues with that. But you can do it with regular bullets too. And if you have the points going in, and I would just recommend, if you're more comfortable with the boss fight, to go ahead and use bullets. But if not, I would just recommend using a Wonder Bus. But I mean, it's all going to be personal preference. I definitely would not recommend using melee. It is extremely excruciating, and it's such a lengthy process that you would literally lose all interest in trying to achieve this trophy if you were to do that constantly. Just 16 hits for each statue, just not good. But I was going to mention that I had not intended on this being my actual gameplay footage for this trophy, because again, I wasn't expecting to get the trophy, because I was just kind of dicking around with this play. Again, I was just going to test to see if I could hole up in that drop pod once it goes up there and the boss comes out, to see if I could cheat the system, but it wasn't going to work, so I just went ahead with the boss fight normally. But I guess I had had enough experience up to this point to actually complete the boss fight and get the trophy, and I definitely was not going to let this video go to waste, because it shows the trophy footage and all that stuff. So again, that's why this is all, it all seems jumbled and it's not well thought out, just because of that fact alone. So a trick with this statue here, the one with the wings, it's the only statue in this room that rotates 3 times. You'll have statues that rotate once and statues that rotate twice, but the one with the wings is the only one that rotates 3 times, and it rotates to the right 3 times. So the easiest way to keep it straight in your head is to say it's going to change one position to the left. So now that it's facing front and I've rotated it, it's rotated 3 times. So instead of rotating right to the, 3 times to the right, in my head I'm just going to say it's going to move one position to the left. So it's going to be facing right. I know it might be a little confusing, but you orient the way the statues are facing based on where your character is. So if you walk up to a statue and you see it facing to the left, then that's the left position. So since I've rotated the left middle one, it's now rotated to the right, and now I just need to rotate this outside one 3 times so that they're both facing front, and I can solve this puzzle. And we are actually about to wrap this up, so thank God, right? Okay, so I've got all 4 of these Raven statues. I'm going to again refer my Raven puzzle video that I have out there, just because I'm not going to go into the detail about the positions right now, but I will say they're the same every single time. If you can pick it up just by watching this video, props to you, but otherwise check out my Raven puzzle video and it'll leave nothing to question. But once you get the Raven positions right the first time, it's pretty simple from there on, and it never changes. So you pick up the Barbarossa's sword, you input it into its molding on the wall to get out, and this is when you start to supply yourself for the boss fight and get ready for the most excruciatingly painful part of this Easter egg. And what you're going to want going up is you're going to want your customized MP40, and if you don't know what the attachments are for that, yeah, I'm gonna refer you to my loadout video if you haven't seen it already. It's just a little 3-minute video going over the loadout, and that's what I was referring to when saying this doesn't coincide with that specific loadout, because I have a different specialist and a different mod that complements the specialist as well. So you want the customized MP40, you want that pack-a-punched, definitely pack-a-punched. I mean, that goes without saying. So pack-a-punch the MP40, you need a full Wonderbuss. So I was lucky enough to end the pest wave and it replenished the ammo for me. So now that the drop pod is lowered, I don't have to worry about wasting any more Wonderbuss until I actually go up and fight the boss. So you'll want MP40, full Wonderbuss, the Dancer's Dagger. I know you're going to want to take Barbarossa's sword because it's pretty badass and it takes a lot of effort to get, and it's the last thing to get before going to the boss, so you feel like you've rewarded yourself by being able to use this boss weapon. But the dagger is just, it's the go-to. I mean, because there's no Geet shield up there, there's nothing to help you outside of what you bring up. So the dagger is going to help you get your armor back. Once you are ready to go up, you've got your perks. So you've got the sprint, you've got the quick reload, double tap, and self revive. You need to go into the drop pod and take out your Wonderbuss, and you need to deplete all of the Wonderbuss by shooting the top like rollers. It'll be like a chain that you climb up back up to the Zeppelin with. So you need to use all 100 on that. You can't deviate. I'm pretty sure you can miss like 5 shots or so, but all 100 need to be pumped into it, and it will bring you all the way up. Depending on how many zombies are left in your wave, you'll either start a new wave coming up, or you will just, you know, bring the wave up with you. But you need to keep the wave alive, because there's one last puzzle here, and it's just rerouting the power to get into Straub's lab. Now, a couple things with it though. As you're moving it along on the circuit boards, there's going to be a little electric light moving across the floor, and if that comes into contact with a zombie, it will kill it. So if that's just a little helpful tip to keep in mind when you're training the last zombie, trying to keep the wave alive. If that electric light touches the zombie, it'll kill the zombie. So make sure you just keep that zombie out of the path of that, basically the little dot that you're moving on the circuit board doesn't cross paths with the zombie, who would, you know, essentially be walking across and get electrocuted by it. So this is where I'm about to attempt my strategy for trying to cheat the system, but not before finishing this little puzzle here. Another thing with this, okay, so you can see that purple smoke moving across the ground. That's the light illuminating the smoke, and it's the electric thing down at the bottom here. So there's 2 doors that you need to stop on in order to open to make this room a full circle. There's 4 doors total in here, and they're just little, you know, spike fences. But you need to stop the light on it, and you need to like back out of the circuit board so that it will register the power going to the door. I don't know why it works that way, but it just does. I didn't know that my first couple attempts doing this boss fight, so I didn't have a full circle room, and I was just thinking to myself, how ridiculous is this that, you know, they have this door that won't open. But I'll show you here on the bottom side of this that those right set of 3, the middle one is the one that you need to stop on, and I'll show you here in just a second. So 1, stop on the middle, back out, it'll open the last door, and this makes this room a big circle, which helps immensely for training zombies. Okay? Now, just a couple of things that you'll need to know as you watch me sort of try and wrap this up and test my theory on, you know, trying to cheat the system, is that expect at least 2 hours every time you attempt to do this Easter egg. It'll get shorter as you get better, but just expect 2 hours every time you attempt this. Also expect to go through at least 3 to 4 waves just fighting the boss, and also expect at least 20 to 25 minutes fighting the boss. That's why getting to the Zeppelin is not as much of a chore as it is fighting the boss. And another thing to make it easier on yourself when fighting the boss is use headphones. So plug headphones into your PS4 controller, your Xbox One controller, whatever, because the boss has audio cues that he's attacking, and he can only be damaged during certain attacks. During the first phase, he'll just scream and start charging. That's when you can damage him. During his second phase, he'll do like a motorcycle rev, and he'll shoot those zombie bolts out and create 2 geckos every time. That's when you can damage him. It's a very short window during phase 2. And phase 3, it'll be like a chain like a chain sound effect, like he'll slam down some chains and then he'll growl at you, and he'll start to emit this poisonous smoke, and you can only damage him with your blunderbuss at that point. Which in all honesty I am still a little skeptical about, because I've shot him with regular bullets, and I think that it honestly just comes down to him only being able to receive damage when he's in his cloud of smoke. But just play it safe, because all the other guides out there and everything tell you that the third phase you can only damage him with the blunderbuss. And I've actually done you a solid here, and I counted it out. At least for solo land play, that's offline local play, he takes 210 blunderbuss. Now, it might not be exactly that, but it's definitely not more than 250, and it's definitely not less than 200. Okay, so 210, just keep that in mind, and that means that 210 has to damage him. That's not you just shooting wildly with your blunderbuss. Okay? So, the trick to beating the boss here is it's not a normal train with your zombies in the Zeppelin, okay? You need to snake them, because you have such a tiny area, and it's so confined in so many parts, especially the doorways. You need to snake your zombies so that you can use these sides, like elevated, walkways. Because if you don't, there's not enough room just walking down below. So even in this room, you have to snake him. But the trick is, you need to keep this guy either apart from the zombies, or ahead of them, or behind them. Because the second part to this is that you need to spare killing any zombies. So you need to train them by snaking them, and then you need to avoid shooting them. That's why I have the MP40 customized, not for bullet penetration, because you don't want to kill more zombies than you have to. Okay? Also, I haven't counted out how many what kind of bullet damage it takes to get this guy, through his first two phases, but there's dialogue cues that your character will have, and each character has their own, that will let you know that he's moved on to a new phase. I'm playing as Drosten right now, and you'll see his dialogue come up when the boss goes into a new phase. So snake your zombies, spare killing any zombies. The third piece to it is that you need to kill anything that's not a regular zombie. Okay, so as soon as you see a pest, kill the pest. But pests are also good if you can keep it in the back of your mind for using your dagger and doing takedowns to recharge lost armor. And the same thing goes for geckos. But I would recommend killing at least one gecko as soon as you see it, and then letting the other gecko outrun the zombies so that you can do the takedown and replenish your armor. But I would only recommend that if you're 100% comfortable with training in here and, all the stuff I've already covered. So, kill pests as soon as you see them. Bomber zombies is another big one. Kill those as soon as you see them. Try not to detonate the payload. Just kill the zombie, and then as there's no zombies around you, kind of just shoot them on the ground and get them out of your way, because you don't want to kill more zombies than you have to, and you definitely do not want crawlers lurking around on the floors while you're trying to do all of this stuff all at once. Okay? And then wustlings is the last thing. Wustlings is probably the hardest one to get rid of, because just because they move so independently, and as soon as you shoot them, they can catch up with the rest of the pack. So you have to isolate them. You have to focus on just killing the wustling. Put everything else behind you at that point. So train the zombies up, get the big guy out of the way, and then move to kill that wustling, and then get right back on track. But it's very tedious work up here, and this is like the only strategy I can honestly think of to do this solo, because you can't use shell shock with the sustain zone, because it's a good effort, but it doesn't work foolproof because of the fact that Wonderbuss is so crucial for that the last phase of the boss fight. And once you run out of Wonderbuss ammo, unless you're butted up against a pest wave and you just get lucky, or you get a lucky max ammo drop, you just find yourself just scrambling to get your Wonderbuss ammo back. And if you're good enough with training, it would add another, I would say, 10 to 12 minutes to the boss fight each time, but you could just use the Wonderbuss bolts rather than doing takedowns or trying to replenish your ammo. So anyways, I should be a little more clear on damaging the boss. So for the first phase, like I said, he'll shout, and then he'll start to charge you like this, okay? Once his right shoulder starts glowing, that's where you shoot him to damage him. But now he's in his second phase, so he'll charge up like this. Actually, I don't think he's in his second phase yet, sorry, that's my bad. But when he's charging during the first phase, his right shoulder will light up the same color as your Wonderbuss. And that's the part that you have to shoot in order to damage him. You will get points. So if you don't see your point meter rising as you're shooting him, that means you're not making contact with his vulnerable spot, which is all of the orange stuff glowing on his right shoulder. So you just gotta kind of keep at it. It's always gonna be this sort of a process fighting this guy, and that's why I say one time is enough, unless you are working with someone else who knows what they're doing. But solo, one time is enough, trust me. Unless, you know, pain is your forte. But during the second phase, he won't be lit up when he's charging you, so it'll kind of be a little more difficult, because you have to sort of keep an eye on him when he's charging and where he ends up, because you need to be where he stops running, because that's when he starts to rev up his little motorcycle sound and shoots out his zombie bolts. And that is when you can damage him. He'll start to glow the same he did during phase 1 as when he was sprinting. So, but phase 2 is by far the most complex because of that fact, that you need to keep him always in sight, but you need to keep your zombies away from him. And the only time you can damage him is when he's transforming zombies into geckos. So, you know, if you try and sit and focus on him the whole time, you'll probably, you know, be overrun with the geckos, and then the zombies will catch up to you, and it's just a recipe for disaster. But so just take your time, be patient. If you have to just pump, you know, 10-15 bullets in them each time, and just ensure that safety measure of killing the geckos, do that. Okay, so there's Jocelyn's dialogue. Now we're in the phase 2, so he won't be able to be damaged as he's charging, but as you saw there, if you get in a tight spot with him, he reacts just like a Wussling. So if you shoot him, he'll start to charge, and then he won't attack you, because he does a heck of a lot of damage. And the longer or the later phase that you're in during, you know, this boss fight, the more damage he'll inflict on you when he's charging. So never let him make contact with you when he's charging. So yeah, phase 2, I've already covered it with you, but every time you hear that rev sound, just keep your eyes peeled for 2 geckos, kill them, and then just get back to what you were doing, and try to not make as much, you know, as big of a mess as you can. Just try to keep it a little mess, but it's going to be messy, trust me. And sort of during this phase, you'll see it's a little less about trying to keep your zombies alive, and it becomes more about focusing on damaging him and being in the vicinity of when he's shooting out his zombie bolts to create geckos. And that is because, you know, this is coming from someone who's played it at least 24 times. So I know, you know, what to expect when I kill zombies, and, you know, all the spawn points and all that stuff, and, you know, the sweet spots for things, and how to snake and all that jazz. But yeah, you just when you get better, and if you get lucky, you kind of need to worry less about sparing zombies and more about damaging them and getting them out of this second phase. Because the third phase isn't as complex, it's just that it's a little more meticulous in how he receives damage. But that's where the loadout comes into play, and we'll go over that once it gets to that point. Now, as we're going through this second phase, I'm just gonna recap a couple of things, bear with me, and add a few additional things for this boss fight. So first, with the boss fight, you're going, as soon as you kill Straub, regardless of what wave you're in, regardless of how many zombies are left, it's going to kill all remaining zombies and start a new wave. So just keep that in mind. When you kill Straub, it's going to start a fresh wave. The other thing, so that you don't get too stressed out with how many zombies you're having to train, if you go into a new wave, don't panic and don't start killing zombies thinking that, this is the remainder of the zombies that were from the last wave, and it's just gonna, pelt you with a whole new fresh wave of zombies. Each wave has a set number of how many zombies can be spawned at once. So let's say last wave was 13, there could be 42 zombies on the ground at once. Okay, so if I were to kill a zombie, it would go down to 41, and then it would spawn another zombie to make up to that 42. So now that it's wave 14, we'll just say that instead of 42 zombies, it's now 46. So instead of getting a whole new wave of zombies coming at you, you're just going to get 4 more zombies to spawn, and then it's just going to taper off again. You're just going to keep the zombies that you have and not get any new ones unless you kill something. Okay? The only exception to that is pest waves, because with pest waves, you're just going to get pummeled with pests. There's no two ways about it. So when a pest wave comes, just clear the map. Do whatever you can, use whatever is in your arsenal, just clear the map. Don't worry about the boss at that point. Kill as many pests as you see, as you can find, and just try and get it back to only being zombies, okay? I've already mentioned using the headphones. That is a key tip, okay? Because as I already mentioned, there's a lot of audio cues during this boss fight. The sizzlers, when they change when the boss is actually attacking, when he's able to receive damage based on the sound he's making, and so on and so forth. So there's the last piece of dialogue from Drosten specifically, letting you know that you're now in the next phase, which is the third and last phase of this boss fight. Now with each new phase, he adds an attack. He doesn't switch his attack. So he'll charge, then he'll do his zombie bolts, and then he'll kind of linger for a little bit, and you'll hear like a chug sound, like, it's gonna sound like chains dropping and all that. So you kind of have to anticipate for it. So this is it right here. Okay, he's gonna sort of growl at you and spit out the smoke. And as he's standing in the smoke cloud, that's when he receives damage. Again, his right shoulder will light up and let you know. But this is when you use the flak jacket with your satchel charge. You need to anticipate it, and it only comes with time. Just know that he's going to charge, he's going to make geckos, and then he's going to linger, and wherever he's at that point, you need to get to damage him. But, if it gets too tight, like you saw there, reset yourself. But at this point in the boss fight, sparing zombies is your second priority, because you need to just focus on the boss. But you also need to be comfortable enough training and killing what's in front of you so that you don't mess up and get cornered like I have so many times. So yeah. And then one more thing, his clouds will stay for a little bit after he's left the area, and it's a poisonous gas. So if you run through it, it's pretty much a guaranteed death if you run straight through the center of it, but you can run, you know, around the perimeter and only receive a little bit of health damage, maybe 1 armor. But if you run straight through the center of it, expect to pretty much be dead. So it's just a shit show right now when it comes to the 3rd phase, especially with this loadout. It's a lot smoother when you use the one that I have recommended in my video, and that's camouflage. So yeah, if you have any questions about that, refer to the video. If you still have questions, just leave comments. I'll get back to you best I can and give you the, you know, the best answer. So yeah, and then recapping up until this point. So as I mentioned, it's 210 Wonderbucks to kill him. I have Free Fire active, so it's not an accurate gauge, but it's a good rough estimate. So I got lucky again and got him in this back corner. And another trick to this is using the Wonderbucks to kill surrounding zombies as you're also focusing the damage on him. And that's just so you don't get swarmed from all angles. There's always an out, and if there's not an out, you drop one of your satchel charges at your feet and make an exit for yourself. But I will mention, I feel kind of cheated on this trophy just because I wasn't expecting it and I wasn't prepared, and also I didn't get to see the bastard die. That was one of the things. I wanted to watch that sucker just go down, but I was not in the right place at the right time to see that, but I was in the right place at the right time to get out and get the trophy, because you're not done when he dies. You need to get back to the drop pod that you came up in specifically, and you need to wash your ass on the way there, because it's not instantaneous. I do have a zombie glitch in there with me, and if I wasn't prepared for it, who knows what could happen. As you see here, I'm utilizing the satchel charge. I go full throttle here with this speed, just satchel charge, Free Fire, and then I lose 2 armor in the process, not knowing that I've completed it. But again, with your headphones, the audio cue, you'll hear music change, pretty obvious, and it's a pretty drastic change. And then that just means he is dead, and I'm like, holy shit, I need to get out of here pronto. So I'm in the drop pod. Here comes Mr. Sneaky, and on my way. I'm so relieved at this point, I cannot tell you. It's just, this was one hell of a trophy, and it reminded me, trying to get it, why I gave up being an achievement whore so long ago on Xbox, and why trophy hunting now isn't as appealing as it used to be in the past, because things are getting a little crazy. But yeah, here's a spoiler. If you don't want to see it, skip the video now.
Clear me a path, folks. This is gonna be a bumpy ride. Heat turn, everyone!
I just figured I'd zip my lip and let those of you who chose to watch it enjoy it. But there's the trophy. I can't tell you how relieved that makes me, seeing it even again this time. Now you will see me post another video of me beating the boss again, but that was just helping a fellow gamer to get the trophy for himself. It shows you the strategies of working with more than one person, how it differs. But if you like this video specifically, go ahead and like it, share it with others, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I hope it helped.